Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. My ex dumped me because I was a softie, now she wants me back. I, 27 male, had been previously in a toxic relationship with my ex-girlfriend who we will call Rachel. Rachel and I had nothing in common, which to this day makes me question why we even dated in the first place. We started dating after we've been hanging out with the same friend group when we were both 20. She was the one who asked me out first, which I agreed, since I liked her a bit. Dated for 4 months, then made it official that we were boyfriend and girlfriend. After a year, she started getting annoyed with everything I do. She would go crazy if she saw me baking or knitting. I love doing this stuff because my mother taught me those things since I was a child. I was the shy type who didn't like talking a lot or doing what other boys do these days. I can describe myself as a calm person, but she didn't like that. She hated who I was. She would constantly scream at me to be a man and stop acting like a woman. To be honest, it hurt a lot, especially when my self-esteem was really low. Day after day, it started getting worse. When her birthday came, I baked a cake especially for her, since I knew she loved cheesecake. Guess what she did? She was livid and screamed at the top of her lungs about how I was a weakling and threw the cake I made her. She went to her friend's house that night, while I cried myself to sleep. The last straw came when I adopted my cat Nina. She was a small kitten when I adopted her. I loved her the moment I laid my eyes on her, so I decided to take her home with me. When Rachel saw her, she almost lost her mind and started screeching about how disgusting it was to have a cat. She tried to take Nina, but I pushed her away and finally snapped. I told her how I had enough of her and I wouldn't let her bring me down anymore. I wouldn't change who I was for someone who doesn't even appreciate me. It was a huge argument, and I told her to get the hell out of my apartment because it's over, and I wouldn't let anyone disrespect me this way again. She started packing her things, while telling me that she doesn't need me and will find herself a real man. A few years passed, and I met my now wife. She was the complete opposite of Rachel, adorable, calm, sweet, loving, a literal angel. I met her because I constantly saw her whenever I brought Nina to the vet. It turned out she was there because her father worked as a vet. She came to visit him and play with other pets. It was so adorable, and I felt myself developing feelings for her. We started talking and I discovered that we share almost the same interests. It's like we were made for each other. We talked more, and I built up the courage to ask her out. The date was perfect. We talked and laughed, laid down chatting all night. I told her about my story with my ex, which she comforted me for and told me that she doesn't know what she lost, that I was a wonderful and a sweet man that lacks nothing. I started tearing up and she hugged me. She was so sweet to me and loved playing with Nina. Every time I looked at her, I thought to myself, yes, this is the woman I want to marry. After a few dates, we became official and I couldn't be happier. We got married and I felt like I was on cloud 9. Fast forward last year, I get a knock on my door, which to my surprise, it was Rachel, my ex, who made me miserable. I tried closing the door, but she held it saying she came here to apologize. I told her whatever it is, it's forgiven and forgotten, but she said it was a different thing. Turns out, one of my friends gave her my address. Don't worry, I already cut off that friend. Anyways, Rachel started apologizing, and I could see the color drain from her face when she saw the wedding ring on my finger. Suddenly she broke down and said how much she missed me. She wanted us to be back together, which disgusted me. She continued crying about how her past relationships were toxic, and her exes treated her like trash, while I treated her like a queen. I told her, F no. I wouldn't leave the woman who loved me for who I am and made me happy, for someone who never gave a damn about my feelings. I told her to get lost, or I'll get a restraining order, then closed the door. That day, I told my wife everything. She was so happy for me that I stood up for myself and told my ex how much pain she caused me. This was last year. Now we have a beautiful daughter together. I'm glad I met such a sweet woman who made me happy and started a family with me. But I'm mostly happy that in the end, I knew my worth. Now for the top comments. OP, I'm very happy for you, as the post is written. But why are you telling the internet about it a year later? Do you actually still think about her and this happening? Because that is kind of worrisome. If you are still hung up on her, don't just pretend that it's because you're proud of yourself. Make yourself confront your feelings, whether alone or with a therapist, before it potentially festers. No, I don't feel anything towards her. The only thing I feel towards her is hatred for the way she treated me. I only shared because I saw a lot of people here sharing their experience and telling the world, so I decided to do it too. So why title the post as your ex being the topic, when you could have made it be all about your wonderful journey, as a post encouraging people to stick to their morals? I don't know, man. I'm leaning to that you haven't realized you're not over her. I only wrote the title this way to summarize what happened, and I already said that since a lot of people posted about their experience, I decided to do it too. As for my ex, I've already got over her the moment we broke up, because I realized she's not worth my time. I shared my experience here to talk about some things that happened in my life. Maybe someone who was in the same situation as me sees it and learn that cutting off toxic people will make their lives better. Yours is such an uplifting story. You did everything without betraying your principles, and now you have a beautiful family. Yup, and I'm grateful for it. I'm glad you found your own happiness. Your wife sounds lovely. That audacity of that ex-friend though, what was their reaction to being found out and kicked out? Yeah, she's the best. I'm lucky to have her. As for my ex-friend, she was the closest one to my ex. She didn't really care about us, but she had a crush on one of the guys in the group, so that's the only thing she's upset about. He's a friend of mine, and he rejected her when she confessed to him. He told her how disrespectful and disgusting she is for betraying me like that. Next story. My brother is blaming me for his marriage ending, and I'm sick of it. My brother's wife has filed for divorce, to the surprise of no one except my brother. They have been married for 19 years, and they dated for something like 5 years before they got married, because they were both in university. My brother is 44 and his wife is 43. For years it's obvious to anyone with eyes that his wife feels unappreciated. My brother publicly stopped putting any love towards his wife. He cared less about hygiene and his appearance. He looked like a slob. Now when it came to other people like his younger co-worker, he had no problem spending big money on a new suit and getting a haircut, and cleaning up for the party to celebrate her promotion. I don't think he cheated. I could be wrong, of course. His wife doesn't think so either, but she was upset that he could pay attention to other women, but not her. The co-worker was just one instance. His wife tried to make an effort to take him out and dress up, to keep in shape for him, but he literally ignored her. I remember one time a few years back, she budgeted and saved for a vacation for them to spend time together, and when they got there, my brother ditched her at the hotel to go fishing. When I got married, he was completely fine to dress up and bragged to my sister-in-law to try to impress her. He loved paying attention to other women except his wife. She's been trying for years. She's told him she felt unappreciated. She's tried to bring excitement to their marriage. Everyone who knows them, including me, pointed out to him that his wife was unhappy. He never did anything about it or tried making an effort. And this was all with public stuff. I can't even imagine what it was like in their private lives. As soon as my niece turned 18, his wife filed for divorce. It's not even about money for her, since they don't own a home themselves. There is no child support because my niece is 18. They both work, so neither of them will pay or owe spousal maintenance. She is just tired of feeling unappreciated. Now my brother is blaming everyone except himself for the divorce. He blames me for not telling me his wife was unhappy. Firstly, I did, and secondly, so did she. He's sulking and complaining all the time, and he's into the alcohol a lot these days. I'm sick of being blamed though, and I told him if he doesn't stop, I'll stop talking to him. He ignored the signs for years, and his wife outright telling him. I don't blame his wife for leaving at all. Your brother sounds like he has all the self-awareness of a table leg. She's right to have left, to be honest. All you can do is remind him that the only one responsible for what happens to him is him. If he continues to play the blame game, there's no point engaging. Self-awareness of a table leg. This is my new insult now. Feel sorry for the wife. 19 years of marriage and 5 years dating. That's her entire adult life wasted on this guy. Like, how does someone even mentally recover from that? I really hope she has some incredible times in her future, dating, traveling, just enjoying being appreciated as a woman should be. Go live like she's 20 because she only has her work commitments. No child, no husband. Go absolutely freaking mental. My mother-in-law didn't divorce until she was in her early 50s. She's remarried to a man that adores her. And while he's not perfect, he's attentive and caring. She's finally getting love and appreciation from a non-narcissist. Everyone in the family loves him, even my parents and my brother love him. She's happier than she's ever been. And he did well for himself. Not crazy rich, but comfortable. So they're talking about retiring early and getting a little bungalow somewhere and traveling the world together. Classic walkaway wife. Coming from one who was married for 20 years, listening to his family questioning why I stayed, like for years. Of course, when I left, they were all shocked, and I was persona non grata. I was gonna say men wake up, but I think there are many walkaway husbands out there too. Some people can't see, understand, or comprehend how their inaction impacts the people they live with and love. If you love someone, let them know through your actions. Be present, respect what matters to them even you don't have a clue why it matters. It matters to them and that's all that needs to matter. Cut him out either way. The brothers sound so narcissistic, and I'm 100% sure he cheated. There is no reason to spend money on another woman unless if you did. Provide your soon-be ex-sister-in-law with emotional support, she will need it. And make sure she doesn't go back to that garbage. Wanting or trying to cheat, but being unable to seal the deal. Last story. My husband asked me to leave while refusing to kick out our roommate who he cheated with. Plus mini update. Okay, so it's as bad as it sounds. My husband and I have been together for about 8 years now. Most of our marriage was wonderful, and I thought he was a great man. About a year and a half ago, my friend asked if she could stay with us because she had nowhere else. My husband at first was against this, and I begged him until he agreed. She moved in and everything was fine until a week ago. My husband comes to me and says we have problems last week. He doesn't like the way I'm behaving towards him. The only thing he says is wrong is that I had a mental relapse and starting to act in a way he doesn't like. I tell him I will change. I tell him I'm just under a lot of stress because I work or go to school 7 days a week while he sits at home in no legal job. Now at this point, I had a feeling in my gut that something was off. My roommate lets me borrow her phone, and I find hurtful messages he sent her asking for goodnight kisses and calling her pet names like honey. My heart breaks and I confront him. He asks for a separation so he can think about if he still wants to be with me and asks me to move out at least for now. Even though this really hurts, I agree. The only thing I ask for in return is to make her leave too, since he clearly has a thing for her. He refuses. After we both talk to the roommate, she bursts into tears and goes to her room. My husband gets mad at me and asks me to leave because if I am there, he will feel bad for going to comfort her. What about my comfort? I am his wife and have always been loyal to him. I am so hurt and shocked. I never thought he was this kind of person. He wants me to give him time to decide, which I would do if it wasn't for the roommate part. I know other people have gone through way worse than me right now, but it hurts so much inside. I just wish I could turn my feelings off. Why did he throw me away? I do not think a good man would do this to his wife. Make fun of me or laugh at me, I probably deserve it for what a fool I have been. How do I pick up these pieces and move on? I could wait for him if the roommate was gone, but it doesn't look like he will kick her out. Now for the top advice. You need to block all access to your bank accounts as soon as possible, before he drains them. Already done. Don't give him one dime, don't even speak to him. He's a louse and will simply keep putting you through the ringer if you allow him any access, whether by phone, text, in person, whatever. Honey, save your dignity. Don't give either of them the chance to hurt you more and keep mocking you in your face. Find a good divorce lawyer before you make any decision about moving out of your own house, and then let them have each other. You don't need such people in your life. Absolutely agree with this. They're married, and he's clearly breached his wedding vows, so divorce him and keep the house. My heart absolutely sank reading through this. I've been with my husband for 8 years too, and the thought of this happening would absolutely destroy me. I sure hope this woman is okay. Yes, don't leave the house. He has no job. He can leave. Does he pay for the house? I could be talking out of my butt here, but I think in some states and whatnot, it can work against you to leave the house, for sure with kids, not sure about property. Please look into the legal ramifications of leaving before you do leave, if you decide to. But he can buzz right off and he can leave. Do not leave your home. If they are uncomfortable, they can leave. I left because the house we lived in was in his dad's name, and I have no legal right to it. At least I think not. This was because I was saving up for our own house. Leave, cry, divorce, get over him and go live life in a way you deserve. This isn't someone worth fighting for. He just threw away 8 years because he was bored, instead of working hard and saving towards your dreams. Edited for a small update and more context, because so many people asked. First, I am genuinely shocked at the amount of strangers that have said kind things to me. I tried to respond to as many messages as possible. Thank you to everyone who had encouraging things to say and advice. It truly uplifted my spirit. There are a couple things I want to add and clarify. 1. The house is in my father-in-law's name. He lives there too and has dementia, so I cannot burden him with this. Plus, it is a single wide trailer falling apart. 2. Basically, my husband's gray area job is selling weed in a legal state, but he doesn't report any income. My state is legal for recreational, but not legal to sell. Also, I know for a fact my roommate is committing welfare fraud and disability fraud because she brags about it. 3. I did tell his family what was going on because I know he wouldn't tell them the truth. They offered condolences. He texted me and asked me why I told them, and now is claiming he never cheated on me, which hurts that he won't even take responsibility even when I screenshotted the proof. 4. I have reconnected with some family members he convinced me were no good to talk to, and they have been a huge support. I am also talking to a lawyer. 5. I can't stay there now for my safety. He's a felon with a weapon and concern for my own mental health being in such a toxic environment. I am safe currently. 6. The mental relapse he is referring to is because I was diagnosed with OCD and BPD. He knows this, and I spent years in therapy to manage my feelings and symptoms.